Where shall we go?
Coasts.
Ocean coasts. Again, another lovely topic to talk about, mainly because look at how pretty this picture is! This is a delta off of the west coast of Africa called Bahagos. And another reason that coasts are really fascinating is because they are the most dynamic systems or areas on this entire planet. Looking at the human population on Earth, you'll notice that 80% of humans live within coastal areas. Looking at a map of the biological life in the ocean, you see, oddly enough, a very similar trend. Most of the life, represented in this case by chlorophyll, the base of the food chain, resides along the coasts. This is because of things like nutrient runoff from continents, from optimal nutrients coming up in upwelling, from the deep ocean. Like, these zones of the coasts are where it's happening. And there are three particular areas of the ocean that are the most dynamic and the most beautiful, in my opinion. These three areas harbor 90% of all the species that live in the ocean. Those are mangrove forests, seagrass beds, and coral reefs. These things rival the tropical rainforest in amount of biodiversity and just biomass of things that live there. And yet, they're also very fragile. Let's talk for a second about the Great Barrier Reef. This is one of the oldest and one of the largest biological features on this planet. And they only reside off of coasts, except for weird deep water corals. We don't need to talk about those. And these coastal systems, again, dynamic, beautiful, but fragile. And so in order to talk about some of the fragile, maybe more sad aspects of the ocean, I brought my friend, Sad Salmon. Sad Salmon pointed out, hey guys, don't interrupt. Sad Salmon pointed out, look, I made this article, I found this article in the newspaper. Shh, I told you, don't interrupt, I'll tell them. Okay, Byron. Thank you. Now, as I was saying, Sad Salmon found this article in the newspaper the other day, and it's pretty sad. So, without further ado, are we gonna read it? Yes, Sad Salmon, we're gonna read it. The obituary of the Great Barrier Reef. This is sad. The Great Barrier Reef of Australia passed away after a long illness. It was 25 million years old. For most of its life, the reef was the largest living structure visible from space on Earth. It was 1,400 miles long with 2,900 individual reefs and 1,050 islands. It contained more biodiversity than all of Europe combined. It harbored 1,625 species of fish. Hey, I'm a fish! Yes, Sad Salmon, you're a fish. 3,000 species of mollusks, 400 species of coral, 220 species of birds, and 30 species of whales and dolphins. Oh my goodness, whales are scary. Yes, whales are scary, Sad Salmon. Now will you let me finish? Okay, Byron. Thank you. Among its many other achievements, the reef was the largest breeding ground of green sea turtles. The reef was born off of the eastern coast of the continent of Australia during the Miocene epoch. Its first 24.99 million years were seemingly happy ones, marked by overall growth. It was formed by corals, whose complex sheltered structures came to comprise the most important habitat in the ocean. As sea levels rose and fell throughout the ages, the reef built itself into a vast labyrinth of shallow water reefs and atolls extending 140 miles off of the Australian coast. It provided some of the most thrilling marine adventures on Earth to humans who visited. Its otherworldly colors and patterns will be sorely missed. To say the reef was an extremely active member of its community is an understatement. The surrounding ecological community simply wouldn't have existed without it. A beacon for explorers and scientists, artists and tourists, it became Australia's crown jewel. In 1981, it experienced its first mass bleaching incident. Water temperatures soared, 2/3 of the coral in the inner portions of the reef bleached, and scientists began to suspect that climate change threatened coral reefs in a way that no marine park could protect. By the turn of the millennium, mass bleachings were then common. It was apparent by then that warming waters were not the only threat brought by climate change. As the oceans absorbed more carbon from the atmosphere, they became more acidic, and that acid was beginning to dissolve the living reef itself. No one knows if a serious effort could have saved the reef, but it's clear that no such effort was made. The whole northern section is trashed, a local diver told Australia's Saturday paper in 2016. It looks like a war zone. It's heartbreaking. The Great Barrier Reef was preceded by the South Pacific Coral Triangle, the Florida Reef, and most other coral reefs on Earth. It is survived by the remnants of the Belize Barrier Reef and some deep-water corals. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to the Ocean Ark Alliance. Wow, sad salmon. That was sad. Are you telling me that the Great Barrier Reef is dead?
No, of course not.
What?
I wrote that thing, silly.
You wrote that article? Are you trying to trick people? You just said the Great Barrier Reef is not dead.
No, it's not. But if we don't change anything, by the year 2040, it just might be.
Oh, I get it. Are you telling us to do something about it?
Absolutely.
Got it. Thanks, sad salmon. So, shall we continue on?